So if the US can use corporate law against its own allies, can you imagine what they'll do to countries that are not its allies, and why countries are moving away from the dollar? Tuesday, August 27th, 2024, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, today we're going to look at how the U.S. is continuing to shoot itself on the foot as far as the dollar is concerned. They're continuing to do more and more damage, in my opinion, to people's trust around the world to use the dollar as a trading currency, as an investment currency. And this has got more to do, of course, with all the sanctions and all the extraterritorial laws and corporate laws that the U.S. uses. And I'm going to recommend a really good book that looks into that today. Before I do, though, I'd like to give a shout out to one of my affiliates today. It's the Dirty Man Safe. And I think it's more important than ever in this day and age where the rule of law is not really being applied as it should. Not just here in the UK, but also all around the world, I would say, especially in the West. As the West collapses from within, we're seeing things that we've never seen before. So I think it's more important than ever to try to protect some of your valuables like gold and silver, or even if you're into cryptos, your crypto wallet or documents. And the Dirty Man Safe provides hidden protection and instant access, and you get 10% off if you decide to buy a Dirty Man Safe. And all you have to do is use my link below in the description. And you also get a special gift by buying a Dirty Man Safe. So back to the United States and what the U.S. is doing. And not just the U.S., but the West. We've seen over the last 2.5 years that all the sanctions and even freezing of Russian reserves, and even you could call stealing of the interest that the Russians have been earning on those reserves, have not really hurt Russia. If anything, it's actually made the whole world realize that their reserves that are in the West in forms of government bonds or treasury bills in dollars, euros, or pounds, they're not safe. So what the rest of the world has been doing, and this has been happening for over 10 years, of course, is building an alternative system. And I would say BRICS is the biggest part. It's the way they've been doing this. And it's not going to be overnight, of course. It's taken years. And we saw that beginning of this year, we had a few more countries join BRICS. It used to be just Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now there's another, I think, 6 or 7. And recently I spoke about this as well, that there are 47 other countries that are ready to join the BRICS alliance. And they're going to apply for membership. I think it's at the summit in October in Kazan, Russia. There's countries from all around the world that are looking to join BRICS, even countries like Thailand, Malaysia. We saw Azerbaijan recently. Yes, there's some countries like Argentina who have chosen to toe the line of the Anglo-American Empire, and they're not joining the BRICS. Am I taking sides? No, I'm just observing. And what this is akin to is if your bank, for example, let's say JP Morgan or any other bank, started punishing you, freezing your accounts and saying you need to do this and this and that, and then started doing it to a lot of other people. You remember probably during the truckers' protest in Canada, their bank accounts were frozen. So what do you do when that happens? Well, you try to find another bank, or you try to find another jurisdiction, and I think that's what the U.S. is doing. And I've noticed that they're not realizing that this is going to only hurt them. And why do I think they don't realize it? I think it's hubris, or also the fact that there's such a bubble in Washington, D.C. America has been dominant, so dominant since the end of World War II that they don't realize that there's another world out there, and that they're not. They think they're still a country that and a currency that is indispensable. But I think people are learning that that's not the case. And one of the ways they've been doing that is, of course, dealing with each other in their own currencies. And the other thing they've been doing, instead of buying dollar reserves, like government bonds, treasuries, treasury notes, treasury bonds, or treasury bills, or even European government bonds or gilts, they're buying gold. Gold up until the 1980s was probably the biggest non-fiat currency reserve that central banks held. And why do they do that? Well, because when you're using your own fiat currency to settle trade with other countries, those countries have to have confidence in your currency. And if you have no gold and you just print the currency out of thin air, people are not going to deal with you. And this was, of course, one of the reasons the dollar became the world's reserve currency, because after World War II, the U.S. had about two-thirds of the official gold reserves in the world. And the dollar was as good as gold until August 15th, 1971. So if you had a surplus amount of dollars, you could go to the U.S. Treasury and redeem it for $35 per troy ounce of gold. But that's gone out the window. The U.S. was able to keep this dollar system going via the petrodollar, which basically was an agreement between the U.S. and the Saudis that the Saudis would only sell their oil in dollars, and the U.S. would defend them militarily. But that's like being diluted. It's kind of an agreement that's not there anymore. Recently we saw as well that the Saudis and the Chinese are going to start dealing in yuan for oil. So yeah, that's what you do. You open another bank, deal with another banker, and deal amongst each other. You can call it peer-to-peer or country-to-country. You don't have a broker in the middle, i.e. the U.S. Treasury and the dollar. Because, well, maybe they will. America seems to want to impose extraterritorial laws on everyone. They might even punish you for trading with each other in their own currencies, not even trading with the dollar. So anything's possible, but that would make things worse. And the reason I'm talking about this is because recently, August 23rd, so 4 days ago, I saw that the U.S. is still at it. U.S. threatens sanctions against countries hosting Russian banks. Financial Times. Deputy Treasury Secretary Adeyemo says Washington will go after branches used by Moscow to circumvent trade restrictions. It's only going to get worse for the dollar. These countries are not going to take this. They're going to find alternatives. And I think the U.S. is going to isolate itself even more. And these countries are, in 5-10 years time, I think most of the world will be under the BRICS umbrella, in my opinion. It says here at the end, but Ademo said the West's dominance of global finance meant most major banks caved in under the Western pressure. They do far more business with the US, the EU, and the UK, and the rest of our coalition than they do with Russia, he said. They don't want to lose access to the dollar, euro, the pound, or the yen. Well, I'm not too sure about that. Yeah, they might still do a lot of business with the West, but they're starting to do a lot more business amongst themselves, and their GDP in total is growing and becoming bigger as more countries join the BRICS. That's the way I see it. And the other thing that the rest of the world is realizing, it's not just the weaponization of the dollar as a currency and as a trade mechanism. They're realizing that the dollar is becoming worth less and less. And we've seen, of course, how the price of gold is going up and is at all-time highs versus the dollar. So the dollar is at all-time lows. We're seeing the euro, the pound, the yen especially. Do you really want to hold Japanese government bonds and Japanese yen? No. And am I saying the rest of the world or the people that are going towards the BRICS bloc are any better? No, they're not that much better, but it's not a question of being better or more stable. It's a question of being able to deal with each other and not be punished extraterritorially by the United States. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. And the other thing I didn't talk about is the rest of the world also sees the debt tsunami that's coming in the U.S., the fact that the national debt is increasing by $1 trillion every 100 days. And yes, it looks like the Fed will go on a rate cutting spree. They might even have to start buying treasuries or doing more QE, because foreigners are not going to need to hold treasuries as much as they did, and the Chinese have been decreasing it. And yes, there will be the client states of America, like Japan, the UK, and the EU, and Australia, who will keep putting their money into the dollar. But all it's going to do is going to hurt us. Me being here in the UK, I said I was going to recommend a book about what America has been doing with the dollar and also with corporate law to really it's kind of an economic war, not just against countries like Russia and let's say non-Western countries. It's even against Western and European countries. And it's this book here, The American Trap, by Frederick Pierucci. He's a Frenchman, and he has a very interesting story. He used to work for a big French multinational company. It says, "My battle to expose America's secret economic war against the rest of the world." So I'll just go through what it says on the back, and I highly recommend this book. It will open your eyes about how the U.S. uses its law to imposes American law elsewhere in the world. So in 2014, France lost part of the control of its nuclear power plants to the United States. Frederick Pierucci, former senior executive of one of Alstom's power company subsidiaries, found himself at the heart of this state scandal. His story goes to the very core of how he plotted the key features of the secret economic war that the United States is waging in Europe. And after being silenced for a long time, he has decided, with the help of journalist Mathieu Aron, to reveal all. In April 2013, Frederick Pierucci was arrested in New York by the FBI and accused of bribery. U.S. authorities imprisoned him for more than 2 years, including 14 months in the notorious maximum security prison. In doing so, they forced Alstom to pay the biggest financial penalty ever imposed by the United States. In the end, Alstom also gave up areas of control to General Electric, its biggest American competitor. Frederick's story unpacks how the United States is using corporate law as an economic weapon against its own allies. So if the U.S. can use corporate law against its own allies, can you imagine what they'll do to countries that are not its allies, and why countries are moving away from the dollar? One after the other, some of the world's largest companies are being actively destabilized to the benefit of the U.S. in acts of economic sabotage that seem to be the beginning of what's to come. And I'm not going to go into the conspiracy theories about the mega super yacht that sunk off the coast of Sicily. It was just over a week ago. But Mike Lynch and his company Autonomy, they were in trouble with the U.S. Justice. They're in trouble because of the deal they did with Hewlett-Packard, an American company. So I think maybe when you read this, The American Trap, you probably realize what Autonomy, the company Mike Lynch sold, I think it was in 2011, what they were up against. And it's interesting that he was able to win his case just over a month ago. And he actually said in a BBC radio interview, I didn't listen to it, but I read about it, that if he didn't have the money to fight the American judicial system, he would have been just another victim. And this guy, Frederick Pierucci, he was just a mid-level or higher level executive. And the French company and the French government just left him to rot a couple of years in jail. They didn't help him. He didn't have the millions. So, yeah, highly recommend The American Trap. So, let's look at where the markets are this morning. I think the markets now are waiting, unfortunately, for September 6th. And what's happening on September 6th? Well, you have the non-farm payroll numbers coming out. But I think that the truth is out now. The cat is out of the bag with the big revision of non-farm payroll. I think it was last week. We just realized that they overcounted non-farm payroll by over 800,000. And I saw this article over the weekend from Market Watch. Unemployment is the Fed's biggest enemy now, Powell says, not inflation. So one thing I would say is that the Fed is ready to inflate again, and inflation is still your enemy. It might not be for the Fed, but they need to make sure they keep Wall Street and the hedge funds and the private equity and the speculators happy with more fruit punch. The punch bowl has to come out again. Anyway, it's 8:15 a.m. London time. Spot gold is at 25.17. It's down about $1. The high's been 21, the low 05. While the recent all-time high is 25.31. I think yesterday we got up to 27. More interestingly, silver is trying to break through the 30 level, and it was doing that yesterday afternoon when I looked at it, and it's doing that again this morning. We're trading right at 30. It's up about 9 cents. And there definitely is someone or some institutions out there that really don't want silver above 30, and you can feel it by just watching the price action. But the high overnight has been 30.10 and the low 29.75. I remember I did a video maybe over a month ago about, well, someone bought these call options, September call options in silver. They expired today, and it was the $200 call, and it was very speculative, as I said. And I think it's going to end up being a waste of premium. But that's how the options markets work. I used to be an options broker. I also traded options. You have to weigh in the risks, but they still have one trading session. Could silver go from 30 to 200 today? I don't think so. Highly unlikely. The Dow futures is up 11. The NASDAQ is up 19 points, and the S&P is up about a point. So fairly quiet. In the currency markets, things are quiet as well. I saw that crude oil went up almost 3% yesterday. Something to do with Libya stopping production of crude oil. I think Libya produces about 4% of OPEC's oil, and OPEC is quite a big producer of oil. It's a major oil producing countries in the world. And bond markets are fairly quiet this morning. We've got the 10-year yield at 3.82. The 2 years at 3.94. So we still inverted by about 12 basis points. And with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.